Speaker 1.
When I graduated, I found it difficult to get a job, so I started experimenting with ideas I'd had while studying. Having studied industrial design, I was interested in designing something that would be useful to industry without harming the environment. I was on my way to a job interview and was walking along a crowded street when I began thinking about the amount of energy created by people walking every day. What if we could harness at least some of that energy and use it? This led to experiments with various ideas for controlling and using energy created by everyday human activity, such as workouts in a gym. The challenge was being able to store such energy. I found a way to do this with special batteries. Then I had to patent my design. This was a long process, and I wish I'd set it in motion earlier. Funding was another problem. Fortunately, a friend who's a marketing consultant gave me advice on how to sell my ideas. This is really important when you're just starting out. It's still early days yet, but I've been receiving a lot of interest from a number of shopping centres, schools and gyms.
Speaker 2.
When this recession hit, almost everyone around me started talking of growing their own vegetables to save money. So, I decided to create gardening products that were environmentally friendly and ethically produced. One of the difficulties was funding. I experimented in my garden shed to cut down on costs and tried to use recycled waste products. I succeeded in ways I never imagined. One of my most successful innovations has been my insect repellent, which contains a secret ingredient from recycled food material. After experimenting, I patented my product so that no one would be able to copy my ideas. Within weeks, I was selling it on the market. It became popular surprisingly quickly, and I suddenly found myself snowed under with orders. My admin skills aren't great, so I had to employ someone to organise files and process orders and deal with the accounts. I worried over this decision for a while, as I wondered whether I'd have enough work to pay them. But in fact, it was the best thing I did. I was able to look more professional to potential customers, and Lucy's great, and I couldn't do without her now. If I'm honest, she's helped to generate business and keep us going.
Speaker 3.
About a year ago, I lost my job, and I realized I'd have to find alternative ways to make money. I'd begun recycling some of my clothes, partly out of interest and partly to avoid splashing out on new ones. It was fun, and several people remarked on how cool my creations looked. One even suggested I set up a business making ethical fashion, and the idea kind of stuck in my head. The thing was to design a series of outfits as a kind of rudimentary collection, then think of a catchy brand name so it would stand out. Once I'd put together a few ideas, I went to a professional for advice on making a business plan. Believe me, money well spent. And then designed my website. Your website is like your shop window. Presentation is everything. My artistic background helped here, and I concentrated on visual impact with minimal text. And things suddenly took off. I'm working on some new designs now, and I'm looking for an assistant to help me.
Hi, I'm looking for Tasneem.
That's me. You must be Harry.
That's right.
Nice to meet you. Did you find us okay?
Yeah. Well, I came here before for my interview.
Right. So, where do you live? Does it take you long to get here?
I've just moved to Redditch, but it was quicker than I expected. I've actually been hanging around in the coffee bar over the road for the last hour.
Really? You were eager to get here then?
Well, I didn't want to be late and, first day nerves and all that.
Sure. Anyway, I'm sure you'll settle in quickly. We're a pretty good bunch. Nobody bites. Well, almost nobody.
Right.
So, rearing to go then?
Absolutely.
OK, well, just dump your stuff down here for the moment and I'll show you the ropes.
OK.
I should have said, we'll be working alongside each other on this new project. I liaise with our external service providers. I was just emailing one of them to schedule a time for us all to meet when you arrived. Anyway, as you can see, the office is mainly open plan. We'll sort you out with a spot later.
Right.
It's a bit chaotic at the moment with all the changes. We've been rushed off our feet, so it'll be good to have more people.
I'm not the only one who's being taken on now, then?
No, 3 or 4 more are joining in the next couple of weeks.
That's good. There'll be some others in the same boat.
Yeah. This is Bianca. She's our main admin assistant. She'll sort out any travel or bookings and other stuff. Bianca, this is Harry.
Hiya, nice to meet you. Hope Taz is treating you well. She's a real slave driver, you know.
Really?
Oh, yeah. She's probably being all kind and helpful now, but wait till you get started.
That sounds ominous.
Oh, take no notice. She's just pulling your leg. You need to watch her.
I don't know what you mean. Actually, Harry, can I just take a quick photo while you're here? I'm just sorting out your entry card and setting up your email.
Sure.
OK. Say cheese. Lovely. Very handsome. That's it. Anything you need or you're not sure about, don't hesitate to ask.
Thanks. I'll get the card later then, yeah?
If that's OK.
OK, let's move on. That lot over the far side are the sales team. We won't disturb them now. I can introduce you later. To be honest, you won't be having that much to do with them in your day-to-day dealings.
OK. What about these rooms? Are they offices?
The last 2 are the boardrooms for meetings. The near one is Mary's office. She's the managing director.
OK. What's she like?
She's OK. She comes across as being quite down to earth. The few times we've talked.
She's not in the office that much then?
No, she's here most days. But, as I said, I guess we've all been so busy that everybody just sticks to their own tasks. Anyway, just going back to the rooms. That one with the door open is the photocopier room. I'd better show you how it works. It's a bit temperamental. It has a tendency to jam if you don't treat it with tender, loving care.
OK.
So, how come you moved to Redditch? It's not that close to here.
No, but I'd been thinking about moving out there for a while and I happened to get the house just before I got this job.
Is David Bolchover's experience a freak occurrence? Well, maybe, but only in the sense that he was allowed to stay at home to not work. Bolchover argues that much of the workforce in many big companies is badly underemployed at work and backs up his arguments with a barrage of statistics. 1 in 3 of all midweek visitors to a UK theme park had phoned in sick. In 1 year, there were 9 million questionable requests for sick notes from the doctor. That's about 1/3 of the working population. 2/3 of young professionals have called in sick because of a hangover, and on it goes. Once at work, things don't improve. On average, employees spend 8.3 hours a week accessing non-work-related websites, and 14.6% of all so-called working Americans say they surf the net constantly at work. 18.7% send up to 20 personal emails a day, and 24% said they had fallen asleep at their desk, in a toilet, or at a meeting. Bolchover argues that there's a conspiracy of silence over this workplace slacking. Workers have no vested interest in saying they do nothing, while businesses want to maintain their image of being highly efficient. Underemployment happens, he suggests, because workers feel a disconnection with big companies. Unlike with small companies, employees don't see how their small contributions fit into the whole picture. Furthermore, managers typically fail to develop or motivate workers because, he claims, in large corporations, people progress not by looking down, but by looking up.
Instead of managing effectively and getting the most out of those under you, the way to get ahead is by advertising yourself and networking with those above you. People below you don't give promotions. With smaller companies, slacking happens less because workers see how failure to pull your weight can directly impact on colleagues and the company. Bolchover suggests the solution, therefore, is to break up large companies into smaller competitive units. From a worker's view, doing nothing might seem fun at first, but in the end it's soul-destroying and a waste of talent.
1.
A 27-year-old call centre worker has been fined and has lost his job after eating a colleague's biscuits. While working a night shift, Michael Campbell decided to dip into what remained of a biscuit tin that had been left in the office. The following day, however, a co-worker returned to find her £7 gift selection gone and decided to search CCTV footage so as to find the culprit. Campbell was charged with stealing and brought before a magistrate, who ordered him to repay the cost of the biscuits as well as a £150 fine. He was also dismissed from his job as a result of the incident and is currently retraining as a bar manager.
2.
Firefighters are holding a one-day strike today as part of a long-running dispute over pensions. With swingeing cuts taking place throughout the public sector, the government wants to raise the retirement age for firefighters from 55 to 60 and say it'll mean they can avoid making redundancies in the service. The Firefighters Union, however, has concerns about the ability of staff to fulfil all their duties beyond 55, given the nature of the work. It claims the government had previously promised to guarantee the pensions of firefighters who fail the compulsory medical at 55, but now it was going back on that promise. The government denies this and condemns the strike and is assuring the public that emergency calls will be dealt with. The action has also prompted some MPs to call for legislation preventing employees in essential services from striking.
3.
A postman who was sacked after taking a week off work to mourn the death of a pet has been awarded £10,000 compensation. The Employment Tribunal was told David Portman had a history of sick leave due to a number of accidents and injuries, and had been absent for a total of 137 days in just 5 years. In his defence, Mr. Portman claimed the majority of his injuries were incurred during the course of his duties at work. However, when he took further leave following the death of his dog, he was sacked. The tribunal concluded this was a step too far, as his previous leave had been legitimate and managers had failed to inform Mr. Portman that he could have applied for compassionate leave.
4.
A report commissioned by the ECA, which represents European pilots, has raised concerns about aviation safety. The report found 17% of pilots were on insecure contracts and not employed directly by the airline, with young pilots being particularly badly affected. Many of them have no guarantees of work and not only have to pay for initial training, uniforms and overnight stays, but in some cases even subsidise the airline through pay-to-fly schemes, whereby young pilots can gain flying experience. The ECA is concerned about this casualisation of contracts, because the report found pilots in this group were more reluctant to disobey the airline's instructions, even if they had safety or health concerns. It also claims the pilots may miss out on important training. The pilot union is therefore calling for new rules to crack down on these atypical contracts.
5.
A woman has failed in her discrimination claim against the company which employed her, which refused to pay her wages in full when she went on maternity leave. What makes the case unusual is that the company Cap's Kitchen Tiles is a family business run by her own father. Mandy Platt claimed the decision was the final straw in a series of incidents where her father had expressed displeasure at the pregnancy. Her father, Andy Cap, was relieved at the verdict, saying he'd fulfilled the statutory requirements with regards to his daughter and was simply ensuring his business remained secure to pass on to all his children.
The story of Stella Liebeck is often quoted as a symbol of what has come to be known as compensation culture in the USA today. Listen to the facts and make up your own mind. One morning in February 1992, Stella Liebeck, a 79-year-old woman from Santa Fe, New Mexico, drove 60 miles with her son Jim and her grandson Chris to Albuquerque Airport in order for Jim to catch an early flight. After she dropped Jim off, she and her grandson stopped at a burger restaurant for breakfast. Her grandson, who was driving the car, parked so that Stella could add cream and sugar to her coffee. She put the cup between her knees and tried to pull the lid off. As she tugged at the lid, the cup tipped over and scalding coffee poured onto her lap. She screamed, and a horrified Chris rushed to help her. Stella received burns over 16% of her body and was hospitalized for 8 days. Her daughter stayed home for 3 weeks to look after Stella following her release from hospital. Treatment for her burns, including skin grafts, lasted for more than 2 years. Eventually, Mrs. Liebeck wrote to the burger company asking if they would consider selling their coffee at a lower temperature and to refund her medical expenses, about $2,000, plus the lost wages of her daughter who stayed home to care for her. The company offered her just $800. Only then did Stella consult a lawyer, who advised her to sue the company. The jury awarded her $160,000 in actual damages and an extra $2.7 million in punitive damages against the fast food restaurant in question. The sum was eventually reduced to $640,000, but not before there was a huge outcry in the U.S. media, and Stella Liebeck had unwillingly become a national celebrity.
Okay, so what's your take on this Stella Liebeck thing then?
Well, I think she was entitled to some compensation.
What do you some compensation? What do you mean by some compensation?
Well, I mean, let's be blunt about this. She burdened herself. She had to undergo medical treatment. Her family member had to take time off of work.
What I find really interesting is when you just said that she burned herself. Now, not once did she admit that it was her fault. You've just said she burned herself, and that's exactly what I think. She burnt herself, so she shouldn't get any compensation from them.
Yeah, but David, the coffee was absolutely ridiculously hot. It's one thing for a company to serve hot coffee, but it was 180 to 190 degrees.
Companies would not serve coffee that hot if the public didn't demand in the first place that they got really hot coffee. Do it the other way around, you probably get people suing them for having cold coffee and their tooth fell out. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But the coffee that you have at home isn't that hot, and people say, oh, coffee's great, and that's the temperature that they want. It's 135 to 140. I mean, that's a significant difference in temperature.
You do have to ask yourself why they have it that kind of temperature. I mean, presumably they have it that kind of temperature because people want it that kind of temperature.
Well, okay. I think people want it hot, but you do have to realize as well that there have been approximately 700 cases of people being burned by scalding coffee. So, I mean, obviously restaurants and takeout food places have got to take this on board. They just can't sell it that
There may
hot.
well have been 700 cases of people being burned by scalding coffee, but they didn't all sue, did they? I mean, she's the only one who sued.
No, she's the most famous one because she got most money out of it.
I'm sorry. No way should she have been given that money. No way.
Look, the fast food chain makes $1.3 million a day selling coffee. They could afford this.
It is ridiculous. It is ridiculous to claim that just because a company makes a lot of money and they can afford to pay people compensation, they should. The thing is, nowadays, what happens is that we have to blame someone, and the person to blame is never yourself. Never ever yourself. It's always somebody else's fault. Always.
One.
Hey, Maddie, you're in late today. Are you okay? You look tired.
I am. I'm exhausted. I didn't crawl home till almost 3.
Yeah? How come?
Oh, this friend of mine. It was her 25th and we'd organised a surprise party.
Oh, that's nice. I bet she was pleased.
Yeah, she was. Although she actually burst into tears when she first came in.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's been through a lot recently, which is partly why we'd planned the do.
Cheer her up?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, she was clearly a bit overwhelmed by it all at first, but she soon got over it.
Oh, well, that's good. Where was it?
In this bar in town. We hired a room and managed to book this band who were friends of hers.
Oh, really? Were they any good?
Yeah, brilliant. They do this kind of old-school rock and roll stuff, and they went down really, really well. Honestly, everyone was up dancing.
Was Marco there?
But of course, giving it his all on the dance floor as usual.
Oh, he's so full of himself, that guy. He thinks he's God's gift to women.
Oh, that's a bit harsh. He seems pretty harmless to me. He just loves a good dance.
Yeah? Well, it could just be me, I suppose. Glad he behaved himself anyway.
Yeah. Hey, talking of dancing, are you still going to those tango classes?
Yeah, on and off.
You must be getting quite good then.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. I'm still a bit prone to treading on toes.
2. Oh, Almir, hi. I'm glad I caught you. I just wanted to check whether you've managed to sort everything out for the big meeting yet.
Yup, it's all in hand, and I've also booked a table at St. John's for the evening.
That sounds perfect. I didn't mean to hassle you. I'm just stressing about it.
That's all right. I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Yeah, of course it will. It's just that I could do without it at the moment. I've got far too much on.
I can imagine. Anyway, as I said, it's all under control.
That's great. Thanks for being so on top of things.
No problem at all.
Oh, by the way, how was your meal the other night?
It was great, thanks. We went to this new place, Porchetta.
Oh, yeah. How was the food?
Amazing. But there was so much of it. They do something like 6 or 7 courses. I lost count after a while.
That must have been quite filling.
It was. I was ready to burst by the end of it all. It was a bit too much, to be honest. Actually, I almost forgot. There was a bit of a scene while we were there.
Oh?
Yeah, this guy at the table in the corner just suddenly burst out screaming at one of the waiters.
Really? How come?
I'm not sure, actually. I didn't catch it all, but it was about something daft, like a dirty fork or something.
Strange.
I know. There was a kind of awkward silence in the room while it was all going on.
I bet. That can't have been much fun. So what happened in the end then?
Oh, they managed to get him to leave. But otherwise, yeah, it was good.
Conversation 1.
Hi, Amy. Goodness, you look awful. What have you been up to? Not another party again?
Oh, Ian, hi. No, I haven't been to one for ages. Actually, I had a night in. But I sat up till 4 playing World of Warcraft.
You? Playing World of Warcraft? Till 4? I bet you're feeling a bit rough then.
I am a bit, yeah.
I haven't played it yet, but I've heard it's really cool. But I didn't think you were into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I'd seen the adverts and they didn't really appeal. All those silly avatars, like something from Harry Potter. It was Mike who put me onto it, really. He'd been raving about it for months, and eventually I just gave in.
So, how did you rate it?
Oh, to be honest, I felt it didn't live up to the hype. I mean, I'd heard that the gameplay was pretty awesome, but the interface was really complicated, and I was a bit overwhelmed by it all.
I wouldn't mind giving it a try.
Well, I can lend it to you if you like. Only not tonight. I was wondering about giving it another go, just to be fair. And then I'll quit, and it's all yours. I've done my last all-nighter.
Conversation 2.
So, John, Don't you hit the town on Fridays anymore then?
Not as a rule. Now and again, but I've usually got other plans.
Such as?
Well, a group of us have set up this film club. We take it in turns to meet at each other's houses. Someone sorts the food, someone brings the wine, and we're all set.
And you do that every Friday?
Pretty much.
You must get fed up of it sometimes, though. I mean, doesn't it get boring doing the same thing all the time?
Not at all. It's great. Well, it's hard to beat the big screen at the cinema, but we more than make up for it with a great atmosphere. Oh, and saving on cost.
Yeah. What got you started on that then?
Well, we'd been talking about it for a while. Then Joanne got made redundant and we thought it would be a great way to cheer her up.
So what kind of films do you watch?
All sorts. The first time we did it, we chose a comedy with what's her name in it? You know, the English actress with the posh name.
Do you mean Helena Bonham Carter?
That's her. I can't remember the name of the film, but it was hilarious. And we were in stitches for most of the evening. Comedies aren't usually my sort of thing, but that's the great thing about this club. It broadens your mind. We've seen thrillers, horror flicks. I can't get enough of them. Even romances. Although I'm not so keen on those.
Sounds interesting. Well, perhaps I'll come and join you one Friday then.
Sure, yeah. Why not?